Kevin, it's great to have you here in our office and on Around the Horn. I want to read your bio first, and then we'll jump into some questions.
Okay.
Looking forward to the discussion.
Well, great to be here. Honored to.
This comes off, you probably didn't write this. This comes off the NAM webpage. So, with a heart for pastors and a passion for the gospel, Kevin Ezell serves as the president of the North American Mission Board. NAM mobilizes Southern Baptist churches for their next step in missions in North America, whether it's a church planting endeavor, compassionate ministry, or evangelism, training, and outreach. Having served since 2010, Kevin has led NAM and helped Southern Baptists to plant more than 11,000 churches during your tenure.
Yeah,
that's quite a number.
Yeah. It's the thing I'm most excited about, and incredibly grateful. It's Southern Baptist churches planting churches. I mean, that's what it is. We just come along as you do in an associational context. We come alongside churches to help them do what they do and throw kind of gas on their fire, we say.
Help them achieve what God's called them to do.
Absolutely. That's what our logo is all about, is really we talk about the next step. It's 3 church pews trying to help people get off the pew and into action.
Okay. I always wondered what that was.
Yeah, the whole idea is forward movement, get them, we're thankful that they're attend, but the next thing is to engage in their next step of missions, and hopefully that's what that's going to be.
One of the ways we describe our association is we provide structure for guys to plug in and be blessed.
Right.
Whether it's blessed through training or blessed through achieving the next step.
Right.
11,000 churches, that's great. These church plants are responsible for nearly 10% of all baptisms in the Southern Baptist Convention.
Yeah.
10%.
Yeah, it's remarkable. I had somebody ask me yesterday about the evangelism, and you say church planting helps evangelism, but our evangelism numbers, they were up last year, but they typically seem like they're down. I was like, well, you take out the church plant numbers, and they're going to be really down. California just came out with the numbers that they baptized last year. 1/3 of their baptisms came from churches planted since 2010.
Really?
And in Canada, over 50% of their baptisms come from churches that were planted since 2010.
Wow, that's amazing.
No, it's incredible. And again, I mean, we get straight out of the book of Acts. It wasn't our idea.
Yeah.
And so we're just kind of following like what Antioch, they sent out Paul and Barnabas, and we're doing our best as to partner with churches to do the exact same thing.
It says here, by 2030, 1/3 of all Southern Baptist churches will have been planted in the last 20 years.
Right.
1/3.
1/3. That's exact, and that's just in 5 years.
Wow.
It's an exciting thing. Now that's scary to some people. Like, oh my word, they're taking over. Hey, but things move, and seasons come and seasons go. I mean, and there is a incredible movement. It's not just momentum.
Yeah.
There is a movement of church planting and interest in church planting, of churches wanting to plant churches, and because they see the benefit of it. And honestly, there's a lot of people our age who want to make certain their grandkids are going to be in church.
We need younger ministers to preach not only to us but to all the generations, to do all the aspects of ministry.
Right. And this generation is very focused on that.
Yeah.
And so now we have more. We're trying to come alongside churches to plant over 700 churches a year, and finding those church planters, we're able to. We now have a pathway for planters to be on, and so getting that pathway created is almost like having a really good minor league system, so you can kind of eventually get them. And we finally have that pathway up to where now we have more planters than we have resources, and so we're really excited about that. But that's a whole different challenge, but we're excited about it.
When you and I were starting in ministry, the opportunities that we have now didn't exist.
Right.
The structure, the training, the funding, any of that.
No, it was here's a book, good luck.
Yeah.
And we'll pray for you.
Yeah. We appreciate so much what NAM does because it helps us have the proper tools. In cooperation with the International Mission Board, Nam leads the SBC's compassion ministry called Send Relief, operating 20 ministry centers across the U.S. and Canada and offering mission trips and training opportunities. Send Relief is connecting people in need with people who care, all with the goal of leading people to faith in Jesus Christ.
Sorry.
Prior to joining NAM, Kevin served as the senior pastor of churches in Texas, Illinois, and his native Kentucky. And it does say something further down here about Kentucky. He is married to his wife, Lynette, whom he met on the college campus of their alma mater, Union University. They have 6 children and 8 grandchildren. He is a so-so golfer and a big fan of Kentucky Wildcat basketball.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good or bad, I'm all in. So
a loyal fan.
Oh, absolutely. And it was in Kentucky. You have to just a right of citizenship, and they'll kick you out of the state if you're not all in.
So you have 6 children. What are their ages?
Yeah, it's kind of you to ask. We have 3 biological, and then we adopted 3, and our oldest just turned 35. She has 4, and then our second is just behind her at 33, and they have 3, and then our son is 29. He's married and has 1, so that's the 8 grandkids.
Yeah.
And then the second wave of kids, we adopted Libby when she was 1, and she's now about to graduate as a pharmacist. We're real proud of her. And then Michael Lynn is a junior in college. She's going to be a nurse. She's from Ethiopia, China, Ethiopia. Then we adopted our son from Philippines. We adopted him when he's 12, and he's now 26, and he's in Maui. And so,
wow.
Yeah, 70% of Maui is Filipino, so he feels like he's found his people.
Yeah. Well, you don't have enough gray hair to have 8 grandkids.
Yeah, well, they keep you young. They do the opposite. They keep you active and young, and they're so much fun. I had somebody ask me yesterday what my hobbies were, and I said, I can tell you what they were. What they are now is trying to keep up with 8 grandkids.
Yeah.
And it's really fun. Our oldest is 10. And our youngest, she'll be 1 a week from Wednesday. And so, my favorite name is Poppy. That's what I go by.
It's a good Spanish name, Poppy. So share with us about your salvation experience.
Sure.
How God worked in your life to call you into the ministry.
Yeah. Well, my mom and dad are very key to that. My dad was witnessed to by a guy installing a telephone in our house years ago. My dad grew up in a home of an alcoholic, and they lived next door to a church. They lived in the shadow of a steeple, but never attended it. And when I say next door, I don't mean like distant next door. When we went to see my grandparents, we parked in the church parking lot, like it was right next to the house. And,
wow.
But they never came to know the Lord. And so my dad, everything changed in our family when I was in kindergarten. My mom and dad, I still remember standing up in the pew, seeing them baptized at Edgewood Baptist Church in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. And from that point on, we were very engaged in church, and we went to Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. My parents were all in. They were, we drive by the church on Thursday just to see if anybody was there. And so I came to know the Lord at a young age, around 7, and really began to take hold of my walk, when I was about 11 or 12. We were so engaged in church and the youth group growing up, and committed to full-time service when I was in junior high school. But it was interesting. My pastor, he didn't encourage. He told my dad, he goes, look, if he really feels called to the ministry, he'll pursue it. So just don't encourage it. Well, I wouldn't encourage you to do that to young people.
Yeah.
Because I interpreted it the wrong way. Like, I don't think these guys think I can pull this off. And so I decided to do computer science and go that direction in college. And then my sophomore year in college, like, look, I really got to do this other. So that's what I did. I pursued the call in my sophomore year of college. I kind of made a reverse.
So you were in computer science. began to pursue the call, what did that mean for you? What kind of changes took place?
Yeah, well, just the intentionality. I went ahead and finished a degree in psychology and computer science there because I was already pretty well through it, and the intentionality of being engaged in ministry in a different way. And so I looked for every opportunity. My first opportunity to preach and speak were at prisons because they were captive and they couldn't go anywhere. I was the only ones that could listen. And then I had a small. If it be nursing homes and prison, any chance I get to do anything, I would try to do it. And then when I went to seminary at Southwestern, I did my first sermon in Mineral Wells, Texas. It was awful. It lasted about 6.5 minutes, and it was pretty rough. So I wanted to be a youth minister. That's what I thought God was leading me to do. But I ended up having a church in Fort Worth, Texas, Northeast 28th Street, Diamond Hill area, Fort Worth. Asked me to come preach. They asked me back a second time, a third time, and then they asked me to be their pastor. They voted me in 7-0. It was my only unanimous call.
A large congregation.
Yeah, and they're sweet. But I tell you what's amazing, when with 7-0, then I had there was a Smith family, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, especially her. They were kind of a challenge, know. Most churches will have a one or two. I had them. What's a scary thing when your church votes you in 7-0 and then two of them turn on you pretty fast. So, that was a unique thing navigating, but I learned a lot.
So after seminary, you continued to pastor? Yeah,
I went to a church at Hartsville, Tennessee, and loved it. Sweet folks. They ran about 80, and I did all I knew to do. When I was in high school, I was a bus captain on a bus route back when they had those.
Yeah.
And so all I need to do is go door to door, look for kids, take some double bubble. You have to do it different today, but I just look for big wheels out in the yard, and that's where I'd go see if the kids would want to go. Well, I did that same mindset when I got my first church at Hilltop. We grew to about 50, and then when I went to Hartsville, I just went street by street, door by door, seeing if they'd be open to. And so God really blessed that, and we went from 80 to about 200, 220. The church really wasn't open to going to a second service.
So you mean sitting in your office studying all day?
Yeah, didn't work for me there. What was funny is in Hartsville, I was trying to meet the folks. When I got there, I was all excited. I was like, man, what do I do? I have a part-time secretary. I don't know what to tell her to do.
Yeah.
And so I was going to go meet folks. So I went out, and I couldn't find hardly anybody. Hartsville is one of the smallest. Trousdale County is one of the smallest counties in Tennessee. And so I went to the drugstore and asked the guy, the pharmacist I knew went to church. I said, where is everybody? It's a Monday morning. He goes, oh, man, this is auction day. And I went, auction day? And he goes, yeah, cattle auction. So I went over to the cattle auction. Well, I had khakis on and a polo. I walked in there.
And you fit right in.
I didn't. Yeah, exactly. I did not. I had like a sore thumb. It's funny. When I walked in there, everything seemed like it stopped. Like everybody stopped, turned around, looked at me. Even the cow stopped and looked at me. You know, it's like this guy didn't fit. Well, the next week I learned. I put some jeans on, flannel shirt. I took a Tootsie Roll and put it right here with a styrofoam cup, and they got the biggest kick. Like, look, the guy's, he's not that smart, but he's trying hard, And so that helped me build a good little friendship base real quick.
Yeah, that's fitting into the culture.
Yeah, you just got to figure it out the best you can. Yeah.
That's funny.
And so, but I went to from there. I went to Marion, Illinois. A pastor in our association, when I was in Hartsville, said, "Hey, my mom's church is open, and I really think you'd fit well there." And so I went to Marion, Illinois, First Baptist for 5 years, and then from there I went to Louisville, Kentucky, at Highview Baptist. I was there for 14 years, and loved it. I love pastoring. I'd pastor today if I felt like the Lord would allow me to.
Yeah.
But that was a point that NAM contacted me, and the last thing I ever saw myself doing was anything denominationally or SBC entity. I never ever thought about it, desired it. I love pastoring, and some people pastor so they can preach. Mm-hmm. I preach so I could pastor. I enjoy preaching.
Yeah,
but the people and the relational aspect is the part I enjoy the most.
So What was the process like going from the church into NAM,
Yeah.
interviews, meeting people? What was that process like?
Yeah, it was interesting. When I got the call, they had me fill out some stuff, and then they narrowed it down to 4, and did an interview. And I just remember going in there because I didn't really. It's one of those things where I really, really didn't want to move my family.
So did you put your name in, or did somebody else?
No, someone else did, unknowing to me, because that's why I was surprised that they called. Because our church did not support like Annie Armstrong very much, because I didn't believe in the process. Like when I tried to call NAM when I was a pastor to plant a church, we were real strong in church planting. We planted 6 or 7 churches a year, and we would give our planters significant funds per month, and we really believed in that. But when I called NAM, they just didn't. They weren't much help, and they weren't pastor friendly. I didn't think, and 2, I didn't think they were shooting straight with the SBC. I thought they were misrepresenting some things. And I'd sit at the SBC and I'd hear them say, we planted 1,600 churches, last year. And the whole time I'm thinking, ain't no way they did that. I don't know how they're coming up with that number, but I just don't see it. And then when I got to NAM the first day, I said I want a list of all the church plants last year. I want the names of the planters, and that's when they said it didn't exist. And I'm like, didn't exist? And they said no. What they basically did is they would call the state and say, okay, hey Nevada, how many churches did you plant? And they'll say 18. Well, amen, praise the Lord, put you down for 18. California, how many did you do?
So they would
97.
count like
and they
that,
count them up, 1,600, do a video, and so, and there was no, watching them, like, monitoring it through the process, and they were just basically sending states money. Mm-hmm. It wasn't the state's fault; it was NAM's fault. NAM set that system up, but today we follow them by classes: 2011, 2012, and we know. The 4-year survivability rate is right at 88%. It changes every year, obviously, depending on the class you're looking. I made a statement back in 2000. I went to NAM in 2010. 2011, it's like, our intention is to track church plants better than Walmart tracks toilet paper. If you ever been to Arkansas, they have headquarters.
Yeah.
And every time you buy something, it's in a master. I mean, they know exactly how much is being sold every minute, and it's pretty amazing. So. Our team does a great job at that. We just want, quality
accountability,
assurance. Quality assurance, and people sacrificially give, and we want to make sure to be good stewards of that.
Yeah. Well, so you weren't expecting NAM to call you,
right? And
what was the process like?
I kind of ventured away from that. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
They went in the interview process. I came in there kind of with guns a-blazing, in a sense, saying. Because I didn't really want the position, so I thought I'd just shoot straight. Like if you ask me to do this, I'm not convinced NAM is doing everything they say they're doing, and so I want to look under the hood. But I don't think you need half the people you have in the headquarters, and that's without looking underneath the hood. You just do a lot of things people don't need. And sure enough, they had 425 at the time, and today we have 137 in Alpharetta, and that was a hard time, but it was a necessary time to kind of bring a sense of focus. NAM did a lot of things, and I told them, you did a lot of things, you kind of shoot in the air, hoping to hit a bird. There's not a lot of focus, and you need to focus on church planting. They were giving 13% of their budget to church planting at the time, and today it's between 55 and 60. So
I remember 17 or 18 years ago holding a pamphlet in my hand, and there was a number at the bottom on the back. So I called NAM and said, I want to buy some of these.
Yeah.
And the lady said, sir, they don't exist. And I said, I have one in my hand.
Yeah.
She said, well, what's the number? And okay, let me give you the number a second time. She said, but that don't exist. I'm like, well, it exists somewhere.
Somewhere?
I'd need to find out where, but she couldn't help me.
Yeah.
And it was probably in one of those lost files or something.
No,
it was a great pamphlet.
No,
but
it's crazy that, and it may sound like I'm being, too rough on, but I am not. I mean, when people talk about anything before 2010, statistical, they'll say, well, NAM did this back in you can't trust any of those numbers.
Yeah.
Because they have no addresses. I mean, you just can't. And it's not the state's fault. It was them not doing what they were there to do, in my opinion. So that's why I told them, look, if I end up doing this, and I'm going to go in there, we're not going to rearrange the deck chairs.
Yeah.
And we're not going to blow it up, but we're going to remodel it significantly. But I need trustees to have my back because it's not going to be pretty. And this is not going to win you the most popular contest. So, people talk about, man, people come after NAM or me, did a lot of different things. That just comes with it. If you're going to go in there and be a change, you're going to change things. You just got to understand that's just going to be part of it. And, how I go to sleep at night is I want to be the best steward of every dollar of money that's given to NAM. Annie Armstrong is over 50% of our funds, and I want to be the best steward I possibly can be, and that's what I'm thankful for. My kids sacrificially give offerings in the church and that make their way to NAM. And man, I just want to tell you, there was a little lady at my very first church in Texas named Lenny Fenton. She's in heaven now, but I remember leaving her house one day. She lived in a 3-room house, and very limited funds. Our budget for the year was $12,000 a year, $1,000 a month at the church. And I remember her just weeping about getting to give to missions like she does, and she had very little. I just remember going out in my car saying, "And God, I promise everywhere you put me in leadership, I will spend every dime like it's hers." And so we have Lenny,
what a great memory.
Yeah, oh yeah. We have a Miss Finney. I call her Miss Finney, Lenny Fenton. I put it together. Miss Finney. We have a Miss Finney principle, even at NAM. Like, you treat every dollar like it's hers. And I'm visual. I got to have a visual. And we still do. And that's what. That's why we have such great accountability, and to make sure those funds are going exactly where they're supposed to.
That's a great story that God put in your path years ago that continues to influence what you do today.
Oh, yeah.
What would you say are your greatest accomplishments during your tenure at NAM?
I could start with my 8 grandkids. I hate to say mine because look, there's so many people who had a part of this. Like, I could say more. I feel more comfortable saying what are some of the best things that happened since 2010.
Yeah.
Because there's no way I could do this by myself. I have trustees who are heroes and people that work and serve at NAM that behind the scenes. But the fact that there is, now there's a focus on church planning. 11,000 churches since 2000.
And you know their names and their locations.
We know their names. They actually exist.
Yeah.
We can show you where they are. And we have a process now to take care of them appropriately and take care of their spouses and help them develop in training and coaching and cohorts and helping churches understand the importance of residencies and purposely identifying people and hopefully making a real clear path to bivocational. Over half our planners are bivocational. And so people know, whether they like us or not, they know what we're focused on.
Yeah.
We are focused on church planning unapologetically. Well over 50% of our budget goes to church planning. And so the fact that there's a SIN network, there's a NAM assessment, and people know who that is, and we're the largest, and I believe the best in North America. The Assemblies of God plant, roughly 250, 300 churches a year. They'd be second. We plant over 700 churches in the SBC plant that we come alongside.
Yeah.
So church planning, the fact of packaging it like Sin Network, Sin Relief, and doing that in partnership with IMB and Paul Chitwood. I mean, for Southern Baptists to have one place to go for mercy, compassion, being Sin Relief, I'm really thankful for that. We have over 3,300 chaplains all over the world, and we're planting churches by those bases all over the world in a partnership with IMB, so we can make sure we always have an impact on our troops. 80% of the troops live off base, and so we're planting churches all over the world. We just planted a church in Japan, right by a military base. And then evangelism. Our evangelism team does a fantastic job putting out resources like 3 Circles and others. That's the most used resource in the history of the North American Mission Board.
The three circles.
Three circles. And we tell them, hey, look, three circles, we have several options, but three circles, four squares, two triangles, we don't care. We just want you to share the gospel. But
I was with, I forget, recently, within about a week, I was with a leader from another association. And on the back of his phone, when you say three circles, he had the diagram on the back of his phone.
You know, the interesting story about that is Jimmy Scroggins, who came up with that, was my student minister at Highview. And that's how we become such close friends. He's one of my best friends. And he wanted to come up with a way to teach the kids on how to share their faith, and he did it on the back of a napkin. And that's how it all started. We passed out napkins with the three circles. And he was just trying to teach students a simple way to do it. And now it's worldwide. It's incredible.
Yeah. I remember seeing the back of the phone and like, hey, that looks familiar. Oh, that's three circles.
Yeah. We have an app now, an iPad. You know, we got all the apps that work really, really well, and just you can fly through it on a plane anywhere.
So obviously you're in San Antonio, Texas today.
Yeah.
We're getting ready to have a luncheon, and you've been in Texas. You were in Austin yesterday, and Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston last week.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about your Texas two-step tour.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun. I've really been blessed. Got to meet an incredible amount of high, what I would say, very strong leaders and pastors that I didn't know. It's just been great. It's been really, I've been wanting to listen more than I talk, but I want to make sure that they know that the NAM is all about planting churches, and we're very focused on that. Have some parameters we need to live within. As long as we don't compromise those, we can partner with anybody to plant a church, and we're very, very thankful to do so. So I've been blessed. Again, the relational part, I just enjoy meeting the pastors. They're still heroes, and it's been an incredible blessing. It's the third week in a row I've been in Dallas.
Wow.
I'm in Dallas, in Texas.
In Texas, yeah. Well, it takes a while to get around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, it's and I'm still hoping to go to Lubbock. I want to go out in West Texas and have one to hear the pastors. It's really, NAM partners with churches. By our ministry assignment, we're to partner with churches, partner with associations, and partner with state conventions. And that's what I want to make sure they know. Like, we can partner with churches. We prefer doing it with associations, a group of churches if we can, and then state conventions if we can. So we're thankful that along with IMB, that's what we both do, is partner with churches, associations, and state conventions.
Well, we do appreciate you taking time to come to Texas, get to know everybody, let everybody get to know you, and hear directly from you.
Yeah.
As we all know, the best conversations are the ones that take place face to face.
Right.
From your perspective, this is really the end of your third week. Mm-hmm. You leave to go home this afternoon. Right. What do you hope to see long term between NAM and Texas and partnering for the gospel?
Yeah. What I hope long term, I hope that pastors will, when they have a question, ask. They hear something, ask. What I wanted to do this in person because I wanted to hear the absolute truth. Ask anything you want, and I'd be glad to answer. The hardest thing for us is having to constantly mop up after inaccurate information, and where there are people, I don't know what people's motivations for that is. I know what some blogs and things out there purposely put things out there to harm. Which is unfortunate. One day they'll account for that. Yeah. And but it's unfortunate. But that's just the way. That's the world we live in. Not everybody that's a part of that wants to say they're part of our family are actually even believers, in my opinion. Yeah. But so that's why I want to come to the pastor and say, look, if you have a question, just email me and ask. It's kezell@nam.net. And it's not filtered. I will answer you back. I want you to have accurate information. And so I want you to
among the leaders that are national among Southern Baptists, you share your email and your phone number, and quite frequently.
Yeah.
You don't hide it from anybody. You give it out quite regularly.
Right.
I can imagine you get a lot of emails and phone calls and contacts.
Yeah, I do, and part of it, my personality limits me a good bit. When I was a pastor, my favorite thing to do is I'd meet 5 and 6, sometimes 7 guys at that first table in Cracker Barrel on the right, the round one. I built our, I built our team with using that table. I just connect with guys, but NAM, you can't do that. There's not enough Cracker Barrels, and there's not enough time.
Yeah.
And you got supposedly 45, 50,000 churches. You just can't do it. And so, I don't want to meet as many of the pastors I possibly can, and just, again, help them have the right information. And that's the most frustrating part for me is why some people set these little fires here and there, is just trying to track them down, knowing what to deal with, what not to deal with, and just staying focused. But you know what? In 1 Corinthians 16, Paul says, I'm going to stay in Ephesus a good bit longer. He said there's a wide open door of effective opportunity. A wide open door. Like, this is the big one. Like, I look for opportunities all the time, but this one is big. But many oppose me. One thing about the Apostle Paul, every time God used him to do something significant, there were people opposing him.
Opposition.
Yeah. And, Paul looked at opposition as a reason to stay, not as an excuse to leave. And, man, I just more I read the book of Acts, I mean, that guy was tenacious and built out of titanium. I mean, he was incredible. And so what we're doing is nothing compared to that. They haven't drugged me out of the city, beat me, and he got back up and went right back in the city. It's incredible what they've done. So because somebody gets online and tries to make you out to be something you're not,
you're right. There's always going to be somebody that tries to throw a wrench in everything.
Yeah, no, and again, they're going to be accountable for that one day. I'm confident of that, and so we just keep doing what we do. Stay focused. And, the blessing of that, even in the midst of some challenges here and there, miscommunication, God's blessed where we have this is the 7th straight year we had an all-time record Annie Armstrong Easter offering.
Wow.
7th straight year. And, man, that's been so encouraging because that's where we found that people really buying in. Because sometimes the people that criticize the loudest are the least invested. There was a study done last year of in Indianapolis of who spoke at the mic the most and how much they actually gave to cooperative program and all. Is very little. And it's amazing sometimes the people who are the loudest have the least invested.
Yes.
It's the same way in the church.
It is. It is. The 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
We obviously could spend all day talking about a whole lot of topics. Let's talk about 2025.
Yeah.
What are the major things that you see going on in NAM in 2025?
We're in a seasonal transition. Years ago, when I made cutbacks from 425 at Alpharetta down to 137, we saved a significant amount of money in doing that. And then we made significant cutbacks nationwide. And there are several ministries, I don't want to go into them unless you want me to, but we cut significantly, hundreds nationwide to bring a sense of focus on planning. Yeah. That's why we went from 13 to over 50, 55, 60% into church planning. Well, at that point, we had more resources than we had planters. And so we had to build up a system, a pathway, and now we have more planners than we have resources. For example, last year, we finished the year, we had to draw $5 million. We were $5 million overspent in our budget. And that's a good thing. We planted more churches than we thought. This year, to balance the budget, we had to pull $3 million out of reserves to balance the budget because we anticipate more plants than we have funds to do. So it's a seasonal transition where now I've got to focus on finding the resources. We're thankful that Annie has It has had 7 straight record years. But the need is going to be greater than that. We feel like we're ready to go from 700. We feel like our churches are ready with the residencies and the groundwork that's been done, that we can get up to about 1,400 a year. We can double it.
Wow.
And in order to do that, though, you're talking about $50-60 million. And people say, well, that's impossible. Well, we serve a God that's all into impossible.
Well, IMB has raised a ton of money in recent years.
Yeah. Well, call them and see if they give us some of it. I'm just kidding.
I'm thinking, can you give us some of your planters here in San Antonio?
Yeah, exactly. But in this season, we're having to come up with some creative ways to resource this. We believe that obviously churches, and we're thankful for their generosity through the cooperative program, through Annie Armstrong.
Yeah.
And we do have a third leg of donors that help us considerably there. And we're in the process of starting something that we believe will also help us find the necessary funds to plant the church. We just want to plant the church funds, and look, we'll prayerfully search for the resources.
Like we talked about previously, you provide the structure for guys to come and plug in and be blessed and move on to the next phase of what God's called them to do.
Exactly.
And resources is a main part of that.
Yeah. But I believe Southern Baptist believe, look in the proofs in the pudding, so to speak, and they see the difference that it's making. And 1/3 of the SBC being churches that planted since 2010. Here's the unique thing: we're planting churches that have a heart to plant churches.
Yeah.
And so you want to plant churches that plant churches that plant churches. And if you could see the map, I had the chance to show you the map of 2010, what it looked like in D.C., and then now what it looks like in D.C., or the church plants in L.A. in 2010 and what they are now. It's just amazing. But those churches are churches that are going to be planting churches.
Back in the 50s and 60s, Southern Baptists were not the largest Protestant group in the United States, but we became that through church starting. And that's what propelled us to become the largest faith group in the United States.
Right.
And it's nice to see that that there's an emphasis in growth.
Yeah.
Not necessarily maintenance, but growth.
New birth. Yeah, actually, and the focus that we're going to focus on 2025, but not just 2025. Really, from now till 2030 for sure, because we feel like we can double.
Yeah.
Is focus on making sure that we stay focused. Sometimes when things go really well and you get a good bit of movement, people want you to do additional things.
Yeah.
Well, NAM should do this, or NAM should do that, or NAM should add this and add that. Now I'm in the process just trying to protect it and saying no, keeping it in the middle of the road, and saying no, we cannot add more things. I've got to find resources to fund this. And so our other departments understand, look, we've got to find more money to plant more churches. And everything else has kind of got to hold it. And then we're putting our new resources in these new church plants, because we have the planters now. We've got to fund them. To
be strategic, as you well know, you have to say no. Yeah. It's just as important as saying yes, and staying on target.
Yeah, that's so true, because what I found was it was easier to jettison things from NAM, eliminate things, and hone it. Although it was hard, that was easier than keeping it focused.
Yeah.
It's one thing to bring about a sense of provide a vision, so to speak, or where we're headed, but then to keep them focused, because your tendency, as McDonald's learned, your tendency is to add McRib, and sometimes it doesn't work out so well. McFish. I mean, people go to, and so, we do what we do. I had a pastor ask the other day, well, why can't NAM do this? Or, your plant churches, why not? And he didn't like the fact. I said, well, man, you're like going to Chick-fil-A complaining that they don't have hamburgers. I mean, when you go there, what they do. And this is what we do. We're going to focus on church planting. This is how we do it. And if if I owned a Chick-fil-A, it's like, look, if you want chicken, we're your place. If not, you need to go next door, and that's okay. It's America,
Well, the materials and the cohorts, and that's been a great addition.
Yeah.
The materials are great.
Yeah. We have some fantastic fantastic people who not only know things, but they've actually done things. And I'm grateful for I try to surround myself with smart people. All right, I have to. I'm very dependent upon them. And so, man, I'm very proud of what they have done, because they know who to bring in and make a part of that. And we really are. We still have a good bit of room to improve there as far as adding additional things, but it's been like reconstructing an airplane in mid-flight.
Yeah.
'Cause you can't just stop everything, like with the assessments and the training. And for a few years, people would get just exhausted. Like, oh my word, you just keep changing the assessment. I was like, well, not changing it. We're just trying to improve it as we go. You don't move in your house and think, man, I wish I'd have done that different. Typically, like, well, let's adjust that. We can move the furniture around.
One of the good changes that has come through the teaching the 12 core competencies is adding learning styles.
Right.
The different ways to present material, because people learn differently.
Yeah.
And mixing up the training based upon those learning styles.
Right.
That's a good addition.
Yeah, and that's what I would encourage people, if they're like, I've heard this about the assessment or that, is that they need to see the updated version. I mean, you got apps on your phone that update almost weekly. You need to. When's the last time that you actually checked it out? And we're convinced the assessment is the absolute best there is out there. And if you don't think so, we really want you to tell us what you think is the best, because we'll go check it out and we'll add whatever we need to do it's going to be the best, and it should be. I mean, we have the resources to make it the best. And what's unique about the assessment is the key, because the more momentum you have, the more of a movement you have, the more people you have that want to do certain things that they're really not gifted to do. And so the best thing we can say to someone is, this when they get a red in an assessment, it doesn't mean they can't be used in ministry. It just means, hey, this may not be the path for you. And that's the best thing we can tell them. We're going to save them embarrassment in front of their mother-in-law down the road if they'll just listen to wise counsel and not say, hey, is there, one that
it's not saying you're devalued as a person.
No.
It's just your wiring fits this.
Yeah.
And trying to plug into another circuit, it's not going to work.
Yeah, go where you're best fitted. I've met with a pastor and his wife. He pastors in Georgia currently. He said, I want to talk to you. Can I have lunch with you and bring my wife and talk to you about planning? I said, well, sure. I thought he wanted to plant a church somewhere as a church. When I got there, and we hadn't even gotten our water yet, he goes, I want to do this privately because I really want to be a planner, and I don't want my church to find out. And I said, well, man, that's great. I'm glad you're considering that. I said, well, hey, tell me about the last person you shared your faith with. And he said, well, now there's a problem. And I went, a problem? He said, yeah, that's not my gift. I'm just not good at that. I don't do that very well, so I really don't do it much. And I said, well, look, I'm going to just be honest with you. I said, there's no way in God's green earth you could be a church planner through Sin Network or NAM. There's just no way you could do that, because if you that's what it's all about. Yeah. And his wife started crying, and pretty significantly. I was like, oh my word, we ain't gotten our water yet. And I said, I'm so sorry. I was just trying to be direct. I didn't mean anything by it. And she goes, no, I've told him we shouldn't be church planners. I'm so happy. And like there's another problem. You maybe need to listen to your wife. More. So.
Yeah, we're all thankful that God gave us wives, because they see things we don't.
Absolutely.
What would you, in a kind of a final word, what would you like to say to anybody listening?
Sure. My hope would be that they would see, the part we want to play at the North American Mission Board. We want to help you in your next step, whatever that is in missions. If you're a 2 on a 10 scale, we want to help you get to be a 3. Yeah. If you're a 5, we want to help you get to be a 6. We're not asking you to sell everything and move to Las Vegas and plant a church, or move to Maine and plant. We're not. We just want you to take the next step. That's why it may be a mission trip. It may be a vision trip to go out there. Maybe help somebody. Be on a church planting team, or you're going to be an engineer and you move to Pittsburgh. Well, go be a part of a plant, because we need we need body mass out there just to help us launch these things. Being on a team, anybody can. We have retired people who move to cities and invest 2 years in helping a church plant. And man, it's these things called planes where you can get on a plane and be somewhere in no time. You still see those grandkids and be very missional, even as a person who's going through that retirement.
Similar to a journeyman.
Absolutely. Yeah. Or a Mormon. Yeah. Or look, they give 2 years. They take 2 years, retire. And we had an assistant DA out of Tennessee move to New York and give 2 years to a church plant up there and loved it. And so there's so many different ways you can do it. And that's why I would just encourage people to do what that logo, to take the very next step. And we're thankful that you pray. And there are ways you can participate. And then third, you can always provide through resources. But we at least pray. And then I encourage you to take that next step. Whatever that is, we want to help you take the next step.
Our association in November, during our business meeting, voted in as a member a NAM church plant.
Well, fantastic.
But it's in Seattle.
Oh, my word.
And we connected with a church planter named Jonathan Lee.
Yeah.
And he's one of our churches.
Yeah.
And we'll be working with him.
Yeah.
And
you know, that's the beautiful thing about this is you see that those lines drawn all over the country.
It's relationship.
It
you can pick up the phone and call. And
I'm just so thankful Al Gore created the internet because it's really helped us do all this. You know?
It sure has.
So what really is amazing, though, you think about it, that the Apostle Paul, there's a church out in West Texas that adopted a church plant in Utah, and they're wearing all their leadership were wearing University of Utah stuff, and Utah Jazz stuff, and they're just all in. And they're in West Texas.
You mentioned plane and airplanes and travel and communication. FaceTime. Yeah.
No, it's incredible. I was able to play on FaceTime last night in a hotel in San Antonio with my granddaughter in Nashville, making her laugh. You couldn't do that years ago.
No, you couldn't.
My oldest were missionaries in China for a while, and we could see our grandbaby in China. FaceTime. It's just it's incredible. So the world's opened up to us in a way to do it nationally and internationally.
Absolutely. We're thankful to have Jonathan as a member of our association.
Sure.
I just wanted to tell you that I hadn't.
Well, that's a great thing.
Yeah.
And that shows that you provide value add. To me, it's up to associations, state conventions, and entities to show value add. And
we hope to send people out to work with him to do evangelism, prayer walking, all those types of things.
Yeah.
It's a good connection.
That's fantastic. I appreciate you doing that.
We help each other.
I've got 699 others I'll be glad to interest you in. So.
And you know their names and phone numbers, obviously. So
they probably have mine.
Yeah. Phone number. Well, thank you for taking time to talk to us.
Sure.
And to be here in San Antonio today.
Oh, honored to be. Thank you so much.
Looking forward to everybody being here and you getting to talk to them over lunch.
Going to be fun. Thanks so much. I appreciate your friendship there.
Thank you.
Incredible job here.
God bless you.